Welcome back to the Synergistic CX Podcast. This is part 3 of our 3-part episode where we're focusing on the bars industry. In the previous 2 parts of this episode, we explored the key elements shaping customer experience in this industry and also analyzed the customer journey map, its marketing mix, the marketing mix funnel matrix, and how to build an optimized voice of the customer survey. Now, in our final segment, we'll broaden the conversation with Darren Denington, founder of Service with Style, as he shares his expert insights on the evolving landscape of customer experience. Chris Yanni, my colleague here at the CX channel, will lead our interview. Chris, all yours.
Thank you, Eric. So welcome again, Darren. It's a pleasure to have you today. Our guest today, Darren, has been in the hospitality industry for over 40 years, and he has been with Service with Style, a company that he founded 27 years ago, and he has served over 1,000 establishments to understand their guests' perspective. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Darren. Welcome again.
Thanks for having me.
So, for the audience that has not had a chance to watch part 1 of this episode, would you like to introduce you again and speak a little bit about you and your work at Service with Style?
Sure, absolutely. Darren Denington with Service with Style. And I guess the journey of our business has always been driven around helping businesses understand what the customer experience is and following up by supporting them to continue to get better and better. We've been in business 27 years, and we primarily work with restaurants and a lot of bars and hotels and resorts because of the demand on customer experience, that they need to make sure that they're tracking this and evaluating this, and again, trying to continue to get better and better.
And while we prepared for this episode, I understood that being in this business makes a lot of sense to you. And as I understood, it all started on a Christmas morning when you are just 11 years old. I am sure our community here at the CX channel would love to hear this story from you.
Well, I guess I look at it as a lot of people get into the hospitality business for a lot of different reasons. And mine was the hospitality part. I just always enjoyed taking care of people. Would you like another drink? Can I get you that? I love when we have guests into our home. And Chris, what you're referring to is when I look back and really realize that that's when I kind of found hospitality. It was Christmas Day and in Canada, snowing. So we went over to our aunt's house early, and I don't think she expected us. She was wanting to cook quietly in the kitchen all afternoon, and instead of the kids running around, so she invited me into the kitchen to help out. I think it was just to stop me from running and playing all through the house. And for the next few hours, I had a great time. I remember tearing apart the bread and kind of pulling out the plates and setting the table and getting a little creative with the buffet. And then the 15 or 16 of us all had a great meal, and I was eating as fast as I could so I could jump up and refill the dinner rolls and get somebody a drink. And that just led to a career in hospitality. That led to food and beverage management for my degree in college, and a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels. And because I enjoy that part of it. And probably one of my favorite pieces would be larger events, weddings, those type of large food and beverage where you're genuinely taking care of hundreds and hundreds of people. So yeah, I've really enjoyed hospitality.
That is very special and very sweet. There are skills that we learn during our life, but certainly there are things that we are born with, and it's certainly a vocation in your case. And I could see during our preparation that this is something that is very deep in your heart, the way that you treat this work. And that leads me to the next question, which is, when we talk about customer experience, we are always aiming to something that is perfection or excellence. And I would like to know something that I always ask our guests is, what does customer experience excellence mean to you?
It's a a deep question because there genuinely is a lot that goes into it. But when I walk into a business as a guest, I'm just looking to feel comfortable. I just want to enjoy the experience and have some of the service adapt to what I'm looking for. So I like the personalized service. And I guess what it genuinely means to me is connecting with people, just somehow making them smile, making them feel welcome, refilling their drink when they didn't realize it. I find that the small, simple things really go a long way.
It's true. It's true. I totally agree with you. I have one of my favorite books that's Hostmanship, which says that hospitality is the art of making people feel welcome. So yes. And one of the central themes of this edition is that the organizations cannot close the customer experience gap that they cannot clearly see. And we spoke about mystery shopping or secret shopping during our preparation. So what role do you think that these independent measurements, such as mystery shopping, play in revealing that reality of the customer experience gap?
I guess the outcome that I'm always looking for is the customers to experience value, and they assess value in a lot of different ways. We typically look at it as the product, the service, or sorry, the product, and then the establishment, and then the service. That's genuinely what builds good value when I'm walking out the door. And then you look at how you track this and how you make it measurable. That's where we take the secret shopping reports and break them down into hundreds and hundreds of individual questions, so that first we're tracking very specifically all the points that ultimately build up to make the value. The shopping reports then become the action item. That's the training tool. That's the individual conversations with your managers to the employees on specific little things to get better and better. So there's a big gap, but what we're ultimately trying to provide is someone walking out the door very happy. In the middle, we want to make sure that we know what that actually looks like so that we can track it, and then working individually with all of the employees that are inside your building so that everybody is projecting that type of service.
But when it comes to results, what type of issues or blind spots are most consistently uncovered through secret shopping that would not surface through internal reporting or customer feedback alone?
I think a lot of larger corporations, they put a lot of stock in having managers in the building. They make sure that they're there to identify these small, simple issues and try to solve them instantly. So they put a lot of stock in the manager on duty running the floor. The difficulty is bringing that to the individual staff, because I think the management team a lot understands those hidden expectations of the guest, and they know how to deliver them. I think the missing component is the training piece from the leadership team down to the staff on how to be aware of those things that ultimately make a great, valuable experience. But a lot of times you're not going to hear from the guest. Simple things like the windowsills are clean, the tables are not sticky, the flowers outside are fresh, and the mulch is in good shape. You're not going to hear a lot of feedback about small, simple things, how fast we were greeted. But all of that ultimately builds into a great experience, and how we track it is a secret shopping experience so that you have that trainable tool on the outside, because ultimately service is individual. It's one-on-one with the people. And sometimes what we expect is hard to translate to the staff, who then connects with the guests. So sometimes there can be a disconnect, but you've got to look at it as the big picture.
Yes, there is a lot of layers of what you just said here. First is the assumption that employees understand what managers said, right? And then what you said about the tables being sticky. This is certainly something that you can only have in secret shopping reports, in questionnaires, right? Because this is not something that you can ask in customer satisfaction studies. You cannot have this kind of questions, and they're so critical in the food and beverage industry. Questions related to the cleanliness of the tables and the restaurants, and even the hands of people who are serving you. So I believe that this is the kind of questions that you can put in a questionnaire with secret shopping, but you cannot assess in other ways, right?
A lot of it goes to the planning from the leadership team, how they put together what they expect the service plan to look like. And then it's making sure that you're passing that on to the leaders who are operating the shifts. But the disconnect again becomes, I think that we assume that we hired really good staff and they're friendly people. We joke around with them when they're in the kitchen. They look like they're in a good mood. So we assume that when they get back behind the bar, that the next guest that they greet, they're upbeat and friendly and personable. Sometimes they're not. And that's what the guest is now seeing. So from the management side, we assume that everybody's getting greeted quickly with wonderful, warm, welcoming smiles. And in reality, those are the little basic things that we know, right? We know how to provide great service, but it's easy to bypass a lot of those. And you need something first in place to create the plan, which is the expectation, so that all your team members know exactly this is what is critical. This is how we as a group of 50 people in the building provide great service under high volume and stressful situation. And then it's making sure that the management team has to be on board. And this is what I genuinely find, is that our management teams in hospitality just simply don't have enough time and effort to work on the things that they genuinely want to, because of all the issues that regularly come up. So they get distracted, and service and the guest experience, because we assume that we have great people on the floor, we assume that everything is working wonderful. And a lot of times we're not getting that feedback.
Yeah, and those assumptions are very dangerous. And to have something objective and to have numbers month after month, they are a powerful way to see how the customer experience is really evolving. And but can you share a moment from your work in mystery shopping where this reality experienced by customer was very different for what the organization believed it was delivering? What made that gap so striking to you?
Several different times. Most it's head office assuming that they had the right systems, the right training packages in place, and the deliverables just weren't there, meaning the proper training program wasn't there. The emphasis on spending extra time to train the team, right? It's one thing to create this great concept and we're going to open 5 or 6 bars in the next year, and here's how the places will look. And then it's another thing to provide the right training program to the staff so that they can comprehend all the skills that they genuinely need to provide that type of service. So it's the training manual that really sets people aside for their expectations on providing that wow customer experience. We assume that everybody understands what a wonderful guest experiences, but we've got to explain that to our team. And to me, that's where the secret shopping reports always came in. As a restaurant owner, a bar owner, had set the shopping report on the table in the middle of the weekly manager meeting, and it forced us to talk about service. It just brought that topic to the surface. And what I found was we always walked away from those manager meetings with 3, 4, 5 simple things that we now needed to pass on to the staff because it's ongoing. It just, your focus has to change. So.
Yes. But when you analyze results across multiple clients and industries, going away a little bit about these assumptions, what are the most common structural causes behind this gap between designed and delivery experiences?
The most common would probably be, it comes to usually timing. That's one of the big red flags that seems to really set off the customer experience when I experience delays. It's probably the number one thing, right? Where's my bartender? I just wanted another drink. And it plays such a big factor. And on the good side of that, when things are timed really well, it provides a comfortable setting. Usually it provides an opportunity for higher sales. It provides a culture for your staff that we know how to take care of people. That's what we do every day. Let's just continue doing this. So there's different areas that become critical, but usually I see timing. Another big disconnect I find between what the customer is seeing and what the bar owner is seeing is the ambiance, the setting, the lighting, the music. When I walk in, I need to feel comfortable and safe and secure and look forward to this experience instantly. And a lot of times with bars, we're confused. Where do we go? How do we get a drink? Does somebody sit us? There's open stools at the bar, but can we get served? All those type of questions arise. So you've got to make that guest feel super warm and comfortable and welcomed instantly. And you've got to make sure that the timing of the experience all the way through flows. And on the sales side, what I always found was if there's a couple of guests sitting at a bar and they're just about to finish their second drink, typically there's a decision to make there, right? Are we going to have another one and stick around for a bit? Or are we going to ask for our check and leave? And if I finish that second drink, that's usually the decision made for me. Okay, we'll just get our bill and head out. But if I had some timely service and the bartender was offering me another drink when I still had 15% of my first one left, it's okay, that sounds great. And then we end up sticking around for a couple more hours and order some food. So timing plays a big factor into service.
Yeah, time is part of the decision in this case. It's a great example. And what else have you seen that works particularly well in terms of consistency in maintaining this alignment between intention and execution over time?
That's the management team. That's the systems that they put in place. If you're running a bar that, let's say, does $2 million a year in sales, you probably have a leadership team of 5, 6, 7 people on your management team. That's the group that has to keep this the focus of everybody. And that's the group that should take service on as a project. If you feel like you don't have a great service plan right now on how to execute your customer experience, then I suggest putting a small committee together and look at it as a project. Hey, everyone, we're going to increase our customer service, and you title it a simple project. And over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, a small group of people diligently works on improving the service, and whether that's updating the training manuals or a staff meeting or individual training or setting some clear expectations. The management team has to put the good plan together, and it doesn't take long. There's a lot of projects in a bar that can really take a lot. If we were creating a marketing plan, it's going to take a lot more effort. But creating a service plan, get 3, 4 people together once a week for an hour for the next 4 weeks and figure out where it goes from there. But spend an hour a week and say, how can we continue to improve our service? And the key ingredient from this leadership team, I think, is the communication. How they now turn around and communicate all these wonderful points to your staff. And I think a shift meeting before a busy night in a bar is 5 or 10 minutes well spent. You can't huddle up all your staff a lot of times, but you can get 8 or 10, 15 people together in the kitchen and just review the highlights from your manager meeting, taken away from your secret shopping reports, so you know what you need to improve on. And those turn into shift meeting notes that you now go over with your team. And so it's the leadership team practicing good communication. And I suggest setting it up as a service plan, working on it as a project for the next month. And I bet you'll put some good, simple things in place.
You know, Darren, you're mentioning on something else that I think is really interesting for our audience to know, because I think a good chunk of them don't know this, which is that customer experience measurement and projects can be something that can be dialed up and also dialed back relatively easily. So for someone who doesn't have, let's say, a formal customer experience measurement program in place, it is something that they can start with a small scope and a small project and even a limited budget to introduce the concepts, try it out in one store, try it with just a few key staff members targeting some particular pain points for the industry, and hitting that, seeing those results, getting buy-in from the employees and the staff members as the results speak for themselves and they start to improve things over the months. And then they can grow that and see the value and really boost their customer experience on a larger scale. But they can start small and evolve that.
And again, because this is a relatively easy category of your business to very quickly make a big impact. If we were trying to implement an inventory system, that's a lot of work. But to quickly change the focus of your bartender staff to really provide fantastic service, that can move the needle very quickly. And I also think that it's got to be part of your culture. It's got to be what you're known for. And it's not set up by just making sure everybody smiles tonight. It's set up by running a good bar, running a good shift, running a good business, being there for your staff, being a caring leadership team that's creating the environment that your staff genuinely wants to come in to work. So they're happy, they're energetic, and that translates to the customer experience and translates to that 5-star type of service that we're looking for, providing that 3 times in a row. Now I find the place that I love. So it takes a lot less effort than I think a lot of people realize to just put in a good, simple service plan. There's not a lot to it, but you have to understand what your guests are looking for.
And it's interesting because you are highlighting something that's very dear to me when I say that a lot of people think that the secret shopping program, the focus is only on the employees who is serving the customer in that given day. But in reality, the program is assessing much more the managers that are responsible for that shift. And this is exactly what you're saying, because what we are evaluating here is the leadership that's in charge of that shift, of that team. So that is really the point. Yes. And
the secret shopping reports become the scorecard that evaluates that. And the first thing you see is a big score, right? Did we get 91%? Was it a 67%? Was it an 82? And what we found by taking the data over years and years and translating that to what the guest does next, right? We already talked about the 90% and above. You have to have 3 type of experience so that I will pass on a positive message about you, right? I really, really like you. It's been 3 times in a row. I've got this great experience. So that's what we need to get to, is that 90 and above. But the 75 to 89%, let's say I was coming to your bar once a month, and that range, you just met my expectations, right? It wasn't fantastic, but it was decent. It was okay. Nothing memorable. You'll see me next month. You'll see me the month after that and month after that. The 60 to 74% is where a little bit of a disconnect, right? You didn't hit my expectations, and I'm not ready to kick you to the curb yet, but it wasn't what I was genuinely looking for. And this is where we now visit somewhere else, the typical reason why we come back is either your product, your pricing, or your location. But what we understand, when the scores drop that low, we're not coming back for your people, right? We didn't feel a connection. We didn't get the smile. We didn't have the bartender spend 3 or 4 minutes in a conversation with us. The 50 to 59%, this is where, like, for example, I'm just not a confrontational person. So if I had that type of experience, I'm not going to call a manager over. I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm going to sign the guest check and I'm going to leave. And I'm never going to consider going back to that business again. The experiences that we have as a customer that are 50% and below in relation to the shopping report, those are the ones that I'm really frustrated. Now I want my voice heard. And a lot of times that's where we go to social media and reviews. And that's because we felt like we were shorted, right? I just spent $91 and didn't get the value for that. So translating the experience into what I do next is a big deal. And I just find so many times that the staff looks at it as, hey, where did our 2 regulars go that sit down in the corner of the bar every Sunday afternoon? The staff now starts to make simple excuses. It must be the weather. Maybe they're traveling. Maybe they're at the parade. Well, they found somewhere else to go. And they might pop back every once in a while just because you're convenient, but you don't feel that connection to the business anymore because of what happened at their last experience. So we walk out the door with that feeling, and we typically make a decision on what we're going to do next, right? Are we going to put your business in our trusted circle of places that we enjoy going to regularly? Or are we just going to pop in whenever it's convenient? So I want to be in that trusted circle with my customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Darren, this month we are speaking a lot here at the CX channel about closing this customer experience gap. And I want your final advice about how organizations can generally, who wants to close this gap between what is designed and what customers actually experience. You spoke a lot about management, about assumptions, about training, about designing the manual, but that is a lot. Let's speak a little bit about priorities. For example, how do you help organizations to define these priorities for a mystery shopping program? How a bar could start to define these priorities for a secret shopping program?
Sure. First, it's understanding that this has to be a priority, right? Your owners, your key managers have to put the focus on the customer experience. The leadership team now takes that as, okay, we're going to take this on as a priority to enhance our customer experience. From there, usually it's that committee that I spoke about, right? Meet a few times over the next month and put together your plan. So just get on the same page of what you genuinely want to do. And this method works for one location or 20 locations, right? You're just trying to get coordinated on what type of service experience you want to deliver. And then for me, step one would be getting a lot of the systems in place, whether that's our daily checklists, whether that's responsibilities list or action list. I want to get caught up on things that can genuinely help. Like I mentioned before, there's a lot going on in the restaurants and the bars. We forget about the customer service. We forget about properly opening up the bar and having everything ready. And those little things can put you in the weeds and put you behind, which then ultimately affects the customer service. So I want to get the basic systems in place so that we're always set up properly to provide that the staff is in a good mood, the building's open on time, the staff is properly scheduled. So once we have the systems in place, then that last piece, what I love doing when you've updated a few things, is just call a team meeting, right? Get your staff in a room with a small little agenda and go through some of the basics. Don't assume that they know how you want them to greet the customers. Don't assume you they know how fast the drink should be served. Don't assume that they know you should be promoting Friday night's event to the two patrons at the bar that are just walking out on Wednesday. There's got to be pieces put in place, and after the training, right, get your staff together for a couple hours. If that's training with your management, get them together for a day and really look at this, and then follow up. And you need something in place that says we always focus on service. We can't forget about the basics. So step by step, I know there's a lot, but again, this is a portion of the business that can be tidied up very quickly, and your expectations can be passed on to your staff quite easily.
Yes. So Darren, in this month's magazine, we have a very special interview with one of your clients in the business perspective section. So thank you so much for helping us with that. Mm-hmm. It's a massive operation. It's a bar with 130 people working on that. It's a classic for what I understood. And they are a legend in the area, as far as I understood as well. So can you please introduce a little bit about this brand to our audience, and also share with us from your perspective what makes this client of yours a compelling example of customer experience excellence?
I guess there's a level of restaurants and bars that, in my eyes, becomes almost like a legacy, to where they've been there long enough and doing this consistently over time, providing an incredible experience. And a legacy restaurant or bar to me is not something I take lightly. That's something that I genuinely feel like they have done it for decades the right way. And Ferg's Sports Bar in St. Pete, Florida, to me, I think they've been there 32, 33 years. And it's just an iconic location. And Mark, the owner, is just a wonderful personal gentleman that I truly respect, that he's just always had the focus of what the guests are thinking and what they're doing, and how can we get the bartenders to greet them quicker, and how can we be set up faster. And he's at the place all the time. He connects with the guests, and he's also built a very unique, one of the biggest jumbo screens I've ever seen outside for games and big events. And he's got a dog park and axe throwing and all kinds of different things. He's got golf simulators. So the location sets him up for, I think, very, very high expectations of the guests walking in. He's got to have, I'm guessing here, but 1,500 seats. And when you walk in, you want a unique experience. And what he's just understood from day one is that unique experience, yes, we're halfway there with the location, but the people, the bartenders, the energy, and he really focuses on hiring the right ones, and very, very low turnover, and a dynamite product, as well as being creative and fun. And he's got a wonderful, wonderful place there. He's done really well.
Yes. So thank you again for introducing us to Ferg's. And I am sure that our community will really appreciate the interview in this month's magazine. And thank you again for being here with us today, sharing your experience in hospitality and beyond. And it was a pleasure hosting you here today.
Well, thank you. It's a topic I genuinely love to chit chat about. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you very much, Darren. And one interesting concept here with this industry specifically, how customer experience can just ripple through the entire establishment and really affect the bottom line and the top line. Obviously, bars with great customer service will typically get higher sales. But in addition to that, this is one industry where there's active, particularly in the US, tips. And so if you have great customer service, the tip levels tend to go up. Tip levels go up, employees are happier, they're retained longer. It's one of those things that can really just be a huge catalyst to have great customer service, not only for the top line, but also for the bottom line too. It
plays such a factor. And I find also that when you have that level of service, that level of connection, that type of environment, that first the customers come in more relaxed and wanting to open themselves up to have a good experience, right? To order that nicer drink, to add on an appetizer. And from the staff perspective, when the customer feels that comfortable, now selling them a product can be very easy. When I've already made you smile at the table and we connected, and hopefully I made you laugh in the first 15 seconds. Now, when I come back 3-4 minutes later and offer you the rum runner or offer you the buffalo wings as an appetizer, you're like, okay, that sounds great, because there's already trust here, because you opened up and took what I call 15 seconds to connect with the guest before it's anything to do with what are you drinking or what are you ordering. It's picking out a logo on their hat or a really nice purse or some jewelry and just starting a simple conversation. That's, to me, what opens up the door for great service, but also for wonderful selling. And selling, it works for everybody involved, right? Obviously the owners, if you're already in the business and you're at a $22 average guest check, if I can sell that up to a $30 or a $31 average guest check, usually those suggestive selling items are your highest profit. So that's where your margins really are on those additional sales. Then for the bartender, if you teach me as a bartender how to connect with the guest and how to properly sell, now I'm selling products that I'm increasing my sales. And obviously that goes directly with the gratuities, but also from the customer experience, right? If me and my wife go out for a quick drink and the bartender recognizes that she's just looking for usually a fancy red drink, and they suggest something, she orders it all day long and loves it. And when we walk out, oh, that was a great drink. I really enjoyed that. And it just leads to this enhanced experience. So it's not just that you got an extra $12 out of me, but it's that I purchased a product that really made this an enjoyable experience. And that was provided by a person that suggested this to me with a great big smile on their face. So you got to set yourself up to get your customers and your staff in that momentum, right? If I'm in a place where the morale is low and the managers don't really care to talk to me or to really guide me or support me, then I'm just doing my job. But if the culture and the environment is there from the leadership team, now let's have some fun, right? Let's create a wonderful environment at the bar, and let's sell some extra drinks and lots of food appetizers. So there's, again, a lot of pieces that go into it, but it's a simple recipe. Once you get it, you can really produce it well.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, Darren, thank you so very much for being our special guest on this episode. Your insights are invaluable and extensive. Before we finish, what's the best way for our listeners to contact you at Service with Style?
Well, sure. Our website has all of the details. And actually, a lot of what we're talking about, we have a free guide. It's called 10 Steps to Great Service. You can get it just by going to the website, and outlines a lot of what we discussed today, but it puts it in a step-by-step format on how to create a service plan. So that's at servicewithstyle.com.
All right, fantastic. As we close, one point stands out. The CX gap, as Christiane was speaking to, is the difference between what organizations design and what customers actually experience. And this is often invisible internally, but always very real in the market. Organizations that consistently deliver strong customer experiences are not those that assume what's happening. They are those that measure and decide and act on that information. And this is where research plays a critical role. Objective data, such as mystery shopping and audits, when properly collected and interpreted, helps move organizations from assumptions to actual understanding based on data, and from intention to execution. Because in customer experience, you cannot close a CX gap that you don't clearly see. That wraps up another episode of the Synergistic CX Podcast. Visit our website, cx-channel.com to download our magazine for free, which includes this episode's industry study about the bars industry and also the business perspective with Fergs. It also includes more content, detailed results, additional commentary, and more information from Service with Style. Be sure to subscribe and also follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or the social media of your preference and stay up to date on our activities. Please give us your questions and also your comments about what industry you would like to see us explore next. We love your feedback. Thank you for being a part of our podcast, and we'll catch you next time here on the CX channel, where CX professionals converge.